Have your attention, please. Get a cell phone or pager. Could you please put on vibrate or silent, not to interrupt the meeting? If you're gonna speak, please step outside. It's hard enough to hear, so everyone speak up. We have a recorder up here, and I would like, don't stand away from the recorder. It's right there for us, so we can get you, you're on TV and we want to be heard. If we could please stand for a moment of silence for the poor and suffering out in LA, I would like that. Thank God for the firemen. My name's Marty Akins, I'm a chairman. It's the vice chair, Mr. Radell. We have Mr. Himmel, Mr. Chin, Ms. Barry, and Mr. O'Brien. Behind me, Director of Inspectional Services, Rob Conlon, and this is our clerk, Mrs. Griffin. If anyone's going to speak tonight, you have to stand and take an oath. If you don't take an oath, you will not speak here.
Take note, if you're going to speak.
Please stand
tonight,
up.
please
If
stand up.
anyone's going to speak tonight, stand up, raise your hand, and take an oath. If you don't take an oath, you will not speak.
Okay, do you swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth in the matters now in hearing? Yes. Thank you. Be seated.
Under old business, Barry, if you could, excuse, 5 on the board will be up front. ZBA, old business, ZBA 2460, Attorney John Lyons, demolish the existing structure on 260 Bellevue Road. I have a letter here from him, if you could read it into the record, please. Oh, I'm sorry, Brian, wrong way.
Subject property was sold to a local buyer, made an unsolicited offer in late December. Closing was completed on January 22nd. I filed the application as an agent for the prior owner, and I do not represent the current owner. I will not be appearing at the hearing on January 28th. I'm not certain whether or not the current owner will appear or go forward or formally withdraw. I'm just writing it as a courtesy to the board to inform you of the circumstances so there not be any confusion. I sincerely appreciate your assistance throughout the process of consideration of showing the board the project.
Attorney Carroll, you want to speak? I know you want to speak in this because.
Yes, I'd like to bring you up to speed on this. Christopher N. Carroll, Quincy, Mass. attorney. I represent the buyer, Finton Murtaugh. He purchased the property at the end of last week. He is a neighbor. We sent out a letter to all the neighbors off the abutter list telling them that he made the purchase. He was very concerned about what went on in the neighborhood for the last 5 years, and he wants to do the right thing. So with that, we're not going to be part of this application in any way. We're going to start fresh, and you'll probably see us soon. But we want to thank the board for, all their help and advice on this project.
Thank you, Mr. Carroll, I appreciate that. Can I have a motion to withdraw without prejudice?
Mr. Chairman, ZBA 2460, Attorney John J. Lyons for a variance to demolish existing single-family structure and replace with a single-family home at the location 260 Bellevue. I make a motion to withdraw without prejudice.
Second.
On the motion, seeing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, so moved. Further into tonight, ZBA Old Business 2479, Everett Property LLC for variance to subdivide the parcel and construct a two-family dwelling on one parcel while retaining the existing 5-unit structure on the second parcel of premise number 23 Claremont Ave. Applicant and a representative here. Counsel, you're up.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, members of the board. I am here on behalf of the applicant tonight. This is as you know, this is a continued hearing. At the first meeting, there were a number of concerns raised by the board. Specifically, there were some issues related to the massing of the building, overall height, and the massing and the appearance of the building on the street. I know a member asked. Raised a question about the size of the office on the first floor and asked that the office be reduced in size so that it didn't act as a new bedroom. There was also a question raised or a concern raised about the size of the full bathroom on the first floor and asked that bathroom be amended and turned into a half bath. And also some questions related to the setbacks on the property. So without me addressing those, I'd like to turn this over to Mark the architect, so Mark can kind of walk through the changes. We specifically made changes to specifically address those 4 items that were raised as concerns of the board. And then after that, we can certainly address any other questions the board may have. Mark?
Mark Sullivan with Chewin Company here in Quincy. You know, if I have to undo this for sleep or something, it's plugged in, but. Sorry. Which one was it?
Look at that. Green light.
Learn something new every day.
There we go. Sorry about that. Again, Mark Sullivan from Chewin Company here in Quincy, the architects for the project. The proposal, if you may remember, is to construct a new 2-family on the north side of Claremont, so the frontage on South Street, to get reassociated with the site here, that existing 5-unit property being over to the right side of that orange highlighted area. The new proposal going facing South Street and having a parking area between the new proposal and the existing 5. To give you an idea of the unit sizes and the kind of massing of the projects around, most of them are fairly consistent with what we're trying to do here, which is 2 units. The one right across here on Claremont is actually 3 units, which is a little bit bigger than what we are proposing. So taking a look at the proposal, last time we were here, as Ed mentioned, there was some concern of the density. We lowered the FAR. It was at 1.13. It's now at 0.81. We essentially lopped off 2 feet of one side and gave that to the side of the property that is on our South Street abutting project that you can see kind of beyond in this rendering. We also changed the typology of the roof to decrease the massing on that top floor and be more in line with the gable structures that are currently existing on South Street in Claremont. The other violations also were reduced from what they were, so that previous side setback, if we go to the site plan, you can see up here on the right, from our abutting property on South Street is now 7 feet, and it was previously 5 feet. Quickly go through this. Again, that site plan, and just to reiterate, we are providing 2 parking spaces for each one of these units within garage spaces, along with the 7 additional spaces for the existing 5-family.
I want to excuse you for 1 minute.
Sure.
If I might. I need someone to sit back. Jonna was on this case. Jonna, you have to sit up here.
I'll step back.
Okay, if you could. I just looked it up. I just found out, but I was watching you. You were paying attention. You saw what happened last time. I'm sitting here. Mr. Frankel wasn't here, and I did watch the video, so continue.
So taking a look at the ground floor, as Ed had mentioned, there was some concern before we had a larger office space with a full bathroom, which obviously could be considered a bedroom. We have revised that ground floor, so now it's just a half bathroom, and that office is significantly smaller at its greatest dimension, and that includes that bay on the front. It's at 9'6", but most of the dimensions are down at 7 feet between those, the bay area and the front wall. That half bathroom was moved to the back, and this allowed us also to create more space for the 2-car garage. There was some concern that previously it was 20 feet by 20 feet. Now we're creating a much wider space at almost 23 and a half feet. So creating more space for that, and doing so allowed us to narrow the total building width by that 2 feet. And again, that's given over here on that side setback, which was seen as potentially a little problematic last time we were here. The second floor open living room kitchen concept has remained somewhat the same as the last version that you had saw. These units are both 3-bedroom units. That has remained the same, and this is that top floor. But to decrease the massing appearance and be more in line with the abutting properties that are along the street, we previously had a shed dormer that went all the way across this top floor. We broke that up into two gable dormers that are more consistent with, like I said, the roof typology of the neighborhood, including some of the properties directly across from us on South Street. This also helped decrease the overall floor area, which helped decrease our FAR. We created two separate entrances instead of the one larger entrance to kind of further break down that massing. The materiality is essentially stayed the same. It's mostly residential with fiber cement, lap siding, a varying of exposures. The bottom floor being 7 inches, the top floor being 4 inches. Some fiber cement trim work to kind of break that up further. And then the bays are lined with fiber cement paneling. This is that rear elevation. This is mostly, for the most part, remained the same, but as I mentioned, the whole building did decrease in total width. Both of the dormers also on the front were brought down from that top of the roof line to kind of further de-emphasize that top massing. And then these are the two side elevations. Again, you can see the gable dormer. They're mirror images of each other, but this is the side that's facing Claremont. That gable dormer being on the front there and brought down from the roof peak to kind of further decrease that that third floor feeling that we previously had. And that is it. Thank you.
Counselor, for the existing building, where are the 13 spaces that you need for that? Right now, they're parking on the street. I was over there, I watched people park on the street, Claremont, and go right up to their apartment.
Well, the parking lot that's existing today has about 6 parking spaces.
You know,
We've actually provided and substituted 7 new parking spaces in the rear of the site.
that's for the old building.
Right, for the 5-unit building. And now these 2 new townhouses.
No, where's the 13 you've got to give us for the five units? Two and a quarter each.
What I'm saying is that there was never 13, Mr.
That's all
Chairman.
right. Now-
There were only 6 parking spaces. So we're actually we've created 1 additional parking space by making it.
And now you're building, you want to subdivide the lot and change everything. I want 13 spaces for the 5 units, and I want 5 for the new building. Should have 4.5. Where's the 5th one for that?
Well, we can't provide 13 parking spaces for the 5-unit building. These are all single unit. Last time we were here, we made a presentation of that, and no questions were raised about the parking for the 5-unit building. 5-unit building are all single unit apartment units. There's only 1 tenant in each of these buildings. There's only 6 parking spaces provided right now. And so we believe and are confident that the 7 parking spaces that are being provided will provide adequate parking for the 5-unit building, as they are all single resident units. And that's why when this 2-family was constructed, it was constructed with the 2 cars per unit, providing the adequate parking. We think that there's
But it's not. It's
more
supposed to
than.
be- That's supposed to be at least 5.
Well, we're confident that this provides really adequate parking for this proposal. So
No,
we
I know.
we certainly can't provide 13. That was never raised at the first meeting.
Then you
What-
answer my question.
What was raised at the first meeting was,
I watched
you
the
know,
film. I saw what happened. I'm sitting in here tonight. I'm asking for that.
okay.
Okay. Any questions so far?
I have none.
No, I have no
Okay.
questions.
Barry?
The 2-family, is this going to be condos?
Yes.
Or is, okay. And who's going to maintain the parking area?
There'll be an association, condominium association created for the sale of those 2 particular condominiums, and that will be included within the condominium regulations to maintain that parking area. That 5-family also will be utilizing those spaces, and it will be required of them to also maintain those spaces as well. So there'll be a joint agreement between both property owners to maintain those spaces.
So how many members will be in the condo association?
Anticipated there will be 2 members, probably 1 member for each unit sold.
But then the 5-family who's
Which-
sharing the parking is not a member of that association? Sounds to me like you need a master association to include all 3 parties.
We could certainly do, a kind of an association as opposed to the condominium bylaws. We'll do an association between the 2 property owners to maintain that parking lot, right? And so the owner of the 5-family, which will continue to be Elizabeth at this stage, she will be, as the owner of that, she'll be responsible for that particular building's responsibilities relative to the parking area.
So it hasn't really been completely thought out and drafted yet, is what I'm hearing.
No, it will be as part of the condominium association that will be created before the sale of those units, right?
I'm concerned about the management of the parking area.
So O'Brien, any questions?
No, I'm good at this time.
Council, you hadn't add anything?
No, again, what we tried to do is try to address the questions and concerns that were raised to the board. We think this is a proposal that fits very well within the neighborhood. As you know, Mr. Chairman, as you drove by, that property really doesn't fit in to
That
that,
property hasn't been taken care of either.
well, it doesn't fit into the,
Well, and I'm worried about that too, and now you wanna put another duplex at the end, cut it off and let someone take care of that, and that thing's gonna be the same, now you got 5 spaces. You
Well,
could
these will
have
be-
probably 12 there, 15, you could have your 13 right away, and probably put in a single family at the end, but
well, that.
I don't agree, so. Just don't agree.
Elizabeth just recently acquired this and for the purposes of moving forward with this proposal. And the two.
She just bought the house?
And the 2 units that are being created here today, or through this application, will be sold as individual condominiums with a condominium association that will provide for the maintenance of that property. And those will be privately owned. So our hope is that certainly as privately owned properties, they will
Oh, they'll be
be,
taken
they
care
will
of.
be,
I
yeah,
agree.
they will be maintained. And I understand
But who's
the members'
maintaining-
comments about the maintenance of the parking lot, and we can certainly agree that an association be created so that it requires the maintenance of those parking lot, and that should be a shared responsibility between the 2 property owners. I think that we can handle that very well within the condominium associations.
How long, when did she buy this property?
It's a little bit over a year now.
Just a little over a
So
year.
she's had it a year and she hasn't done nothing with that yard at all. I don't even think anyone shoveled out there the last snowstorm. Because you can see the places where the cars were, in between them, there's still was some snow. Like, no one went around and really shoveled it right, so. I mean, and the parking lot's all caved in. It's.
But a year and a
But yeah,
half
no
is
one
not,
took
that's
care of it.
certainly
So
not a
I don't know
lot.
if this plan was from the beginning, all right, I'll do it all at once, but no one's saying nothing to me. So
Well, I think-
gotta look
I
at
think
it
that
like
was her-
She didn't take care of that property there. What makes me think she's gonna take care of this property when we decrease the parking to 5 or 7?
Well, again, a year and a half certainly hasn't given her much time to do much to the property. And certainly, yes, it was her intention right away when she acquired the site to move forward with this proposal. And in fact, she contacted me quite early, but it took time to prepare the appropriate plans before we could even make this filing. So there was, this application has been pending for probably 6 months in preparing the plans. So I'm confident, that this is going to be privately owned, that these units are going to be maintained. They're going to demand, that the parking lot be maintained and that driveway be maintained so they have adequate access to their property. And we'll certainly have an association that will ensure that the property is maintained as far as the parking goes.
Once this is done, those 2 properties are sold, that's gonna be in its own. And they're not gonna have to get no association with their neighbor because it's a separate lot, separate ad.
No,
What makes you think?
no, because there's a
I ain't
shared,
gonna argue with you, council. I'm out.
There's
I
a
don't like
shared-
it.
there's
I
a
don't like it.
shared-
There's no parking there for the 5 units that you have with that. No. And just help, so. Let's see if someone else wants to say something.
I have a question regarding the parking.
Go ahead.
Would it make any sense to add tandem parking spaces 1 and 2? Or would that, make the project,
That's how would they get the turn? Where would they get the turn radius? to
Well,
get in there?
you would add, with the green spaces on the right of the whole building, the current building, if you were to make parking spaces 1 and 2 tandem, you would add 2 spaces. But I don't,
From right, you're talking like if you're facing from the street?
South Street?
No, Claremont.
You're talking about 1 and 2, just adding spaces right in that green space.
Exactly.
We can certainly look to expand that and provide tandem spaces in that location. What we tried to do, and you may remember my initial presentation, we tried to utilize one curb cut that would provide parking for both of these homes. And the goal being is that, so we didn't take away on-street parking from the neighborhood. And that was something that we found really important. Hence why we didn't cut into that grass area around the house. We didn't provide parking from the other side of Claremont in a driveway in the front. Because again, a lot of people in that neighborhood don't have adequate parking and they park in the street. And so we didn't want to interfere with the on-street parking. But yet, we wanted to provide enough parking for this particular proposal, and we think we've done so. But there's certainly other ways to provide additional parking, as Mr. Akins is saying, but it's going to certainly require additional curb cuts be created that's going to take away on-street parking, and that's what we were particularly concerned about. Well, we can certainly add tandem spaces there.
And just to note also, it would also take away, some of the idea was to create some more open space for this. So obviously,
It wouldn't be
the
that
more we
effective.
take away, the more hard surface parking lot that you have there.
I understand.
Is there anyone who would like to speak in favor? Is there anyone here? First call? Second call? Third call closed. Anything from the DPW? No, this is the DPW, right? Okay.
We changed, I don't know if we read it in the last time.
I'll read it again.
We've reviewed the submittal for the above referenced project, and our comments are as follows. 1, install a curb stop valve and box on the sidewalk. 2, install a clean out for the sewer service pipe. 3, if a chimney connection is proposed on the sewer main, a clean out on the road surface should be installed. 4, looks like the proposed contours will collect water to the front of the proposed duplex. 5, upon completion of the project, as-built plans showing all utilities and building footprints need to be submitted along with the digital file.
Not even in the water, right? Call it part of the hearing closed. Is there anyone here opposed or undecided? First call, second call, third call closed. I just can't. There's not enough parking there. You got 5 units there now. I mean, if that place was taken care of, I might think about it, but it hasn't been. The year you buy a property, you spruce it up, you make it nice as you can. And if you're thinking about that, you cut, you make new lines, you do it all, and you keep your space and you come up, here's what I did, because that's my line. I mean, you had a year to do that. So to me, if someone don't take care of the property, I don't think they're gonna take care of it after it's all done. So, and there's not enough parking there, and you don't even show me 5 places for the new one, so I'll be voting no.
I think they did everything I asked of them, so I'm in favor.
All right,
I also think that they did what we asked of them last time they were here. I think they've improved the drawings. I understand your concern about not maintaining the property. When you own a property, there's no excuse not to maintain it. But I also understand that if you thought you were going to reconstruct everything, you wouldn't want to invest a lot of money. However, you have to maintain your property. The point being, I'm in favor of the project as it stands.
I think the changes were made as requested with regards to the office and the garage space. I do have concerns about the maintenance of the existing property, what you're going to do as far as easement agreement and a firm management agreement between what will be 3 parcels to maintain the parking lot moving forward, including snow removal for the entire site, which to Councilor Aiken's point, doesn't seem like it's been doing now. So I'm in favor of the project with a very firm stipulation on how the site is going to be maintained in a manner that's improved over the current condition.
My point is with the density of the neighborhood and the parking, especially the on-street, I would hope there would be some sort of a resolve of that. I like the project in general, but I'd like to see additional parking placed up there, however you could squeeze it in. to get closer to the requirements. Not necessarily make them, but at least get closer. Because I understand there are one-bedroom units that are in there. So, yeah, but you still end up potentially with two people in each unit. So that's the approach that I would take.
Counsel?
May I address Mr. O'Brien?
Yeah, at the mic, please.
So, Mr. O'Brien, I hear you, and my guess, my comment would be is that, is it possible to move forward with a favorable recommendation with the stipulation, again, addressing your concerns about maintenance to ensure that that's part of any condominium and association documents, but also that we add some additional tandem spaces that were recommended, in front of the two spaces in this location, or even three if possible, being that I'd rather try to avoid another curb cut on Claremont because that's going to take away on-street parking. So by adding these, maybe 3 additional tandem spaces would provide the additional spaces that you might.
If you don't take away the parking on Claremont, you're gonna add to it. You know what I'm saying? If you take it away on the street, you're gonna add to.
So we could, but, so my question is that would 3 additional spaces in a tandem setting in that location be something that you'd feel more
I'd like
comfortable
to
with?
see them. I'd like to see at least 3.
Yeah, I want to see the drawings too, because that piece of property with subdividing is going to be different, because it's going to be on this lot, not that lot, correct? Correct?
Correct.
Oh, yeah.
Well, they'll be on
I'll
the,
tell you, you come back with 3 more spaces, tandem and cut it out. I might even be in favor of that. Now I got 10 spaces there. I feel a lot better. I feel a lot better people got their parking. Because when they're parking on the street, there's parking in back of that building, tons of parking, and they're not using it now, what's gonna happen then? You say, I wanna avoid curb cuts so they don't park there. Those people shouldn't be parking there. They should be parking in their parking lot. That's something that the owner has to tell the people, you're not parking on the street, you live here in this unit, get your car off the street. And if someone else wants to come to visit, they have a place to go.
that's certainly agreeable, Mr. Chairman. So we'll come back at a next,
And
How
if
about
it's, and if
second meeting
it's
in
clean.
February?
absolutely.
Fair enough? February 28th work?
February 28th is, yes, thank you.
February 20th, you got it. Have a motion, please.
Mr. Chairman, ZBA 2479, Everett Properties LLC for a variance to subdivide the parcel, construct a 2-family dwelling on one parcel while retaining the existing 5-unit structure on the second parcel on the premises number 23 Claremont Ave, Quincy. Make a motion to move to February 28th.
Second.
On the motion, seeing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? So moved.
Thank you.
Thank you. Further on, old business, 10 Jermaine Street, ZB. Huh? Okay, ZBA 2481, venue paid for a variance to construct a single-family dwelling with an attached place. Oh,
Thank you.
a single-family dwelling with an attached 2-car garage. Upon completion, demolishing the existing single-family dwelling on the premise number 10 St. Germain Street in Quincy. I have a letter here, they want to continue, the owner's out of town. Let's go to, February 28th?
They asked for February 11th.
Oh, they did? Oh,
Yeah, that's right.
we should jump, oh, there you go, February 11th. Guy's been waiting a long time, but now he's out of town, all right. Got a motion for February 11th?
ZBA 2481, Manny 5, for a variance to construct a single-family dwelling with an attached 2-car garage upon completion of demolishing the existing single-family dwelling on premise number 10 St. Germain Street, Quincy. I make a motion to move to February 11th.
Seconded.
On the motion, seeing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, so moved.
Thanks. I could just pull it up on here too, you know?
Why everyone's probably
I
here.
didn't want to get sent anymore for these.
ZBA, new business, ZBA 2485. Jeffrey Taccio for variance finding to raise the existing structure and construct 9-unit residential condominium with 18 on-site parking spaces on the premises number 10 Independence Ave, Quincy. The applicant and representative here. Counselor?
Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman. My name is Jeff Taccio, and I represent Marina Bay Management and Services. Mark Taccio from my office is here, and Joshua Green from Crocker Design Group is here. He's our civil engineer as well. We are here this evening. I'm going to let Josh set up as I do my introduction. 10 Independence, which is Business A, and it's a proposal for a multifamily property, condominium type style. We're here this evening for a finding under 3.4.3, alteration, reconstruction of an existing non-conforming building with respect to dimensional, also use, and then some variances from 4.1 dimensional table relating to front setback, height, FAR, lot area per dwelling unit, and then also green area per dwelling unit. And then finally, 5.1.4, some of the off-street parking regulations for the zone as well. We have up currently, there we go, we are Abigail Adams Square, which is in South Quincy. We're looking at the property, which is down to the bottom, which is to the south. It is the gas station, which has been there since 1947. If we take a look, we've got Franklin Street going up, heading up to the north, next to where the Adams houses are. Franklin Street continues south, as you know, which is on that to the east of the property. We've got Bradford, which is one of the legs off of the intersection, Independence Avenue, which continues into Braintree down on the west. And then finally, we've got President's Ave, which goes up northwestward on the other side of the Adams houses. We're looking at basically Business A, as I had mentioned, for the property. Currently existing at the subject property, it's triangular shaped, very conical. It's interesting. It ranges from a radius, which is up against the intersection, and then it curves around. It's got frontage both on Independence, Franklin, and then also in on the intersection as well. So it's very odd with respect to the shape. It's looking at just a hair under 11,000 square feet. And then, again, it's currently has a 2,300 square foot service station, which is there. Used to be the Shell station. And it's got the service doors are still there. All of the pumps have been removed. And if you go out there, you'll see where they've been patched up and basically paved over. So the surface right now is basically almost entirely impervious. It's, concrete pad, it's got some paving, and then it's got some islands that remain. One of the islands out of the point that does remain, it's got some U's. That was a 26-foot high shell sign back when I was a kid. Some of you probably remember what's there. That is currently non-conforming with respect to setbacks. It's exactly right up against the line to the south, which is the property which is owned by Leo Martin. And in fact, the lot surprisingly shapes itself around the addition to the building. So we're talking about, cutting things that tightly when this was back and constructed. And again, it's non-conforming with respect to use because it's a service station, gas station, but it is allowed to continue as a pre-existing non-conforming use, which has led to us coming in here today. Another one of the interesting features, and I will try to show it the best that I can, is it has 4 curb cuts. It's got 2 curb cuts that are up closer to the intersection, one on Independence, one over on Franklin. And you'll note when you go out there that the curb cuts lead right into the crosswalks. So for pedestrians that are coming there, you've got curb openings dumping into crosswalks. It creates a highly problematic situation. We also have further to the south on both streets, we've got curb cuts there as well. Very, very typical of a post-war gas station, right? And they were in neighborhoods and they went in, people didn't go to, massive gas stations. So it's a relic of its time, if you will. And again, it's an obsolete use. It's currently being used for auto repair, body work. Again, all non-conforming going forward. It is what it is, which again creates the opportunity. If I can go to the next real quick. That's what it looks like today. So if you go out there, this is looking on Franklin Street on that northerly arm, Looking back to the south at the property, Bradford's over on your left, and you can see over across to the right, you can see a continuation of Independence. You can see the doors of the bays. We've got plans that we've looked at from 1947. This thing's barely changed, but it's painted, it's there, it ages in place, and that's what it looks like. Currently, it is not striped, so it winds up kind of being a free-for-all with respect to where cars are parked, where they come in, where they go out. And you can see one of the curb cuts on Franklin Street there, again, dumping right into the intersection. You can also see some of the U's, some of the traffic controls that are there. And if you go there now, that's pretty much representative of what that looks like today. I noted that a few years ago, this property was cited under the municipal ordinances 244-3B7 for the storage of junk. So it's been there, it's run its course, and that's what we're looking at today. The neighborhood overall has, as you folks are aware, been subject to a lot of investment. Specifically, if you take a look up on the northern side of where Franklin Street goes, on the west side, you know that 109, 103 to 107 Franklin were all demolished to make room to move the Dunkin' Donuts from 95 Franklin over to 109 Franklin Street. That was recent investment that occurred in the neighborhood. And then if you go across the street over onto the east side where North Payne is, 58 North Payne, 108 Franklin, and 106 Franklin were all demolished for a 3-story, 40-foot high, a little over, mixed-use property, which is now 106 to 108 Franklin. And that consists of 6 residential units and then 3 commercial units with 16 cars parked at that property. We'll go to the next, please. Going forward, what we did was we have from the first page of the plan set, we've got the contrast where we've got some scale, and we can actually show a comparison. The top, obviously, is the existing situation. This is taken over from between Franklin to the left and then President's Ave to the right. So this is that point where the Adams houses are, looking across, and you can basically see the garage that's over there. You can see some of the telephone poles, and that is the view today. The proposal, if we go to the bottom, which is shown, is 9 units condominium. It's got 3 stories above a first story, which is dedicated to running the building. And that's a result of going through the planning process. Originally, there was a proposal to actually have residential units down on the first floor, some commercial uses. In going through the process of meeting with planning, it was suggested that being on the first floor, being next to where the lights are here, particularly with respect to just traffic, available parking, that it made sense to get the residential uses up above the street level. And that resulted in changes to the first floor, where it winds up being a lobby, mail room. There's a work from home common type room. There's a community area, and then there's also areas for Amazon, UPS deliveries, things like that, which are very essential to a residential use, and which all play into the way that the property operates. We're getting here above that first utility level. We then wind up with 3 condominium units per floor. So it's arrayed 333 as it goes up, and it's got no basement. That's another function. In this area, it's got a relatively high water table, and the initial work that came out, they were looking at putting a basement down, but there were assumptions on where the water table was because of when we had the drought years. They made certain assumptions with respect to where the water table line would be, and the engineering determined that if we had put in a basement, the elevator base would have actually been about 4 feet into the water table. So the decision was made to eliminate the basement and to aggregate some of those other supportive utilities, et cetera, into that first floor level. As you look forward at this, it is very purposeful. At one point, it was brick. In speaking with planning, getting feedback from various people, departments, it wound up changing to a cementatious clapboard. What we wanted to do was to basically give it a style which is not inconsistent with the neighborhood. The neighborhood is dominated by Queen Anne structures, Italianate, mansard, Second Empire type properties that exist. And what we wanted to do is we wanted to put this in a position where it actually had some, it spoke to some presence, which is also very consistent with what we had done. I mentioned that it's got a fourth floor. A variance is required for the fourth floor because 3 stories is the limit. Even though it is the business A, residential B table applies. So what we have done in this instance is we have camouflaged, if you will, the fourth floor inside a mansard roof. Mansard roof characteristics are more vertical, if you will, on the roof. It's darker in color. It'll be a high quality architectural shingles. And then also the proposal as of right now is to have dark sills on the windows so that they, if you look at it, basically disappear from the eye. If this was just a 3-story building, it would be, would be something that we would see that the mansard level would be there and it would just be an attic. It'd still be, a 3-story building. I'd mentioned before, the home that I live in is an 1852, which was created to a mansard. There's living space on our top floor as well. So in this instance, this has gone through with, again, planning. We got the special permit for this use. Also, we went through site plan review, and this is the resulting building that we have. And I can go through some more information on that shortly. I will also say that the height as it was presented to the planning board wound up being 4410. And that was the numbers that we came up with to get the building into this position. Basically, approved site plan with that configuration. Following that, I actually met with the clients and the question was posed, what can we do to make it shorter? Because the message that I got was, Counselor, what can you do to cut out excess from this configuration? The counselors asked, pressed, several people did. We then went back in and we were able to reconfigure the building so that we could reduce it an additional, I think it's 2 feet, 7 inches. So we were able to squat it down again and bring it down to 42.3. And I'll go towards the end, I can give you some comparability of how that fits into the neighborhood so that this isn't a standalone type of building existing here in the Business A district. If I can go to the next one, please, Josh. As part of the planning board process, as I went in, I looked at this, I looked at the relationship of the building to property lines, to the sidewalks, and also in the context of the greater intersection. The intersection is extremely problematic. The span between the point of where this property is, and I'll just point right now to, if you can see the brown outline of the building, sort of the top, you see the property line is that arc. That's the existing property line today. If you go from that point and then you go across to a similar configuration where the Adams houses are, that's over 150 feet. So if you're taking a look at urban design today and what it takes for people to comfortably cross the streets, for vehicles so that there's no confusion, definition of lanes so that cars actually travel effectively, this 5-way intersection is really a product of its time. It's really deficient and it doesn't function very well. In speaking with TPAL, Ms. Rule, we had understood, and this is one of the reasons that Mr. O'Connell wanted to undertake this project, is that this Abigail Adams Square is now a gateway coming into Quincy Square. Define gateway as you will, but I mean, we define it as something which is which is an intersection that has decent capacity movements. That's preliminary to getting into the Quincy Center. And in this instance, having an intersection with such poor geometry, poor design, was seen as an opportunity. We believe that this was a situation where this intersection was worthy of improvement. And the building itself, we believe, has the presence, the quality of materials, quality of architecture to be able to anchor a portion of this five-way intersection. For so long, it has suffered with that, one-story garage with those cars. And frankly, as it is now, it's an eyesore. Again, it's obsolete, and it doesn't live up to the rest of that intersection. This is a tremendous opportunity to anchor the intersection and be able to justify work towards making this into a gateway. As a result, coming out of the planning board process, we have a condition which was put together by TPAL. What it does is, if you'll notice, the north again is up at the top. Josh showed you the property line before. We've got specifications where we've been encouraged through the process. We started with concrete sidewalks with 2-foot brick pavers going around with granite curbs, tree wells, trees, etc. Good start. And one of the reasons for that is if you go out and you start it, basically if you go at School Street and you travel south towards Water Street, if you look at the sidewalks, they've all got the brick strip. There are little segments that then are, come south of Water Street, but for some reason, somewhere at some time, somebody forgot to make that spec when people were going in and opening up the sidewalks. It was requested of us, we went in and we pitched, of course, we said, this is going to be a significant investment, this is going to be extremely high quality, and we want it to be safe. We're going to eliminate the 2 curb cuts, et cetera. And the request was, can you reinstitute the design that was there for the sidewalks? The answer was yes. Our original plans had those. Then what occurred was we took a look at some of the the crosswalks, some of the openings, some of the utility poles, the handicap. The deficiencies are tremendous. So we got to a position where thinking was, hey, we've got other situations in town where we've had geometry similar to this, where it's benefited from an expansion of the sidewalk to be able to create more pedestrian space, more differentiation between the fronts of buildings and then where the curb line is, and also as a result where the traffic is. And this is a variation, a more complete variation of some of the sketches that TPAL provided to us. In looking at it, it accomplishes a tremendous amount of different goals. You can see coming Franklin Street as you're going north, you can see a dedicated left-hand turn. This is phase 1 of a 5-way intersection that my client has agreed to perform many of the pieces that are within our ability to do that. The city's contribution is, obviously, there's some right-of-way which is involved, and it winds up being a kind of a win-win for the neighborhood, for pedestrians, and then hopefully for the people who reside here. This is also, in my opinion, responsive to some early comments that we had where if you put this in and you're looking for variances on the frontage, look, the building is kind of close to where the sidewalk is, and we'd like to see more green introduced, we'd like to see more trees introduced. This provides, I think it's over 26 feet as you're putting it together. So this is kind of an articulation or, actually what we were talking about earlier, but it's only one. And, we would expect that the other shoe is going to drop at some point. But this is important to us. And while I've got this up, I'll just note when we talk about the variance, the shape of the shape, of what we're looking at. This is not characteristic of other, properties in the neighborhood. You can see where that interesting triangle is. Where a building could go, we could not maintain the curb openings up so close to the intersection for safety reasons. The curbs had to be as far as we could possibly pull them away for safety, which mandated that the building go to the front. So this isn't a situation where somebody said, oh, flip a coin, where do we want to put the building? This design is mandated by this. I look at it and I think of an Apollo capsule. What you're also looking at, if I may, we've got 18 parking spaces, which is basically a 1-to-1 on the bedrooms. So we've got 9 units, 2 bedrooms each. So we're able to achieve a 1-to-1 there. There's some question on whether there should be a 0.25 kicker, et cetera, because there's a little bit of a discrepancy between Section 4 and then also Section 5, the parking regulations. To be safe, would request a variance as, we talk about the Section 5 table as we go forward on that. Give me 1 second. I pointed out the trees. I talked about the brick, et cetera. And then I'm going to ask Josh, see if he can pull up the next one. This is something that we all know. We stop right there. That's 1400 Hancock Street, right? It's the old Granite Trust building. Everyone knows it. Everyone's known it. That's what it looked like before 2016. Very similar. Take a look at how close the road wraps around. We all remember the square in this area. So that's our quote unquote before situation. You can see Acapulco's. You can see Acapulco's. They've got the, not the banner, but the awning. The awning, which is over on the left, just to get everyone zoned in. Josh, if I could ask for the next one. This is 2003, I believe. That's good urban planning. And in this instance, it was right downtown. We all see it. That's what we're talking about. And so I'm not surprised that Ms. Rule from TPAL said, this is a nice way to deal with a problematic intersection. So this, details to be determined, on exactly where ADA ramps go, et cetera. But this is what we've committed to doing there. And what it does, you'll remember what the perceived setback was before, from the curb to the front of the Granite Trust building. Don't get me wrong, I'm not saying voila, we changed the setback. It's still the same. But when we look at making actions to mitigate circumstances, contribute to the community, make it better, we can make it better. Would other corners of the intersection benefit from this? Yeah, absolutely. Hopefully, this project is, it's a jump start, if we could, to start to get some of that done. Now, what I talked about, if I can go to the height diagram, the question is, there's a fourth story there. And this wasn't, we need the 9 units in order to make this pencil. So we got creative with respect to hiding the 4th story in the mansard roof. Again, we're committed to, high quality materials, et cetera. We're getting a lot of questions from Historic already, and, we're committed to working with them and going forward. Mr. O'Connell, he sees this, he sees an opportunity to improve something. It needs the pencil. That's the requirement. It's got to be economically feasible. So what we did is we went through, this has been modified. Planning saw an earlier version, but the current proposal is in the middle. That's 10 Independence. Yeah. And if you take a look at that, you'll notice that the height of the proposed building, I mentioned 42 feet, 3 inches. If we look over to the left, you've got 160 Franklin Street. That's the greenhouse, which is on the corner of Bradford. There it is. That's scaled with precision. That is 39 feet, 7 inches to the main ridge of that property. So the difference, I mean, you do the math, it's like 2 feet and some change. Beautiful house. It's an 1890s Queen Anne that, there are several of these Victorian properties in and around the neighborhood. And that's one reason that we picked up on that. So again, look at the relative difference. If we can go over to the right, we've got Mr. Sweeney's Funeral Home, which was just recently all upgraded. Another good opportunity of an investment in the neighborhood, a business owner who wants to improve the intersection. And he made the investment. We applaud him for that. We all know, we're probably all visited. That property is,
We're gonna be visiting.
oh, yeah. But what do they say? But not today.
Today, I hope.
1890s, right? It's a product of its time. It's beautiful. It still retains, some of the qualities, stained glass windows. It's got that turret, which is something which is, we see emblematic of Queen Anne style. And that's running 38 feet, 11 inches to the main ridge and 42 feet, 8 inches to the top of the turret. Are they all exact? No. Am I saying that a turret is equal to a full floor of a building? No. But what I am saying is, wow, there's something established where we're around 40 feet. Maybe we're a couple feet under, maybe we're a couple inches over, but this isn't, oh my God, the character of the neighborhood, right? Which is another one of the standards, when we're talking about the finding that you have, is that more detrimental to the neighborhood than the existing gas station with the 4 curb openings, et cetera? We got a, Harmony special permit from the planning board, et cetera. I would suggest that that's answered, in favor of the application. With respect to fitting in with the neighborhood, these are just 2 examples of direct abutting properties. My earlier drafts, I can go up and down, I go up to North Payne. We go out, I go up towards Penniman Hill. I find beautiful mansard roofs. The closed down funeral home is Italianate. The white mansard roof multifamily at North Payne in Franklin with a coffee shop on the front. I can go over and over again and say Victorian era mansard, Victorian era Queen Anne. It's what you can do. And the higher properties wind up aggregating around this neighborhood. So we would submit that there's a consistency with respect to the height of these properties. As I go forward, I'm just going to take a look real quick. I can go through specifically, we touch on some of the Section 10 variance requests and requirements in our documents. I mean, basically, substantial hardship. This is just a real underperforming property. We would like to put it into productive use to be able to house families. That's simple. 2-bedroom max on these, modern construction, and we believe that it's parked very adequately. Two spaces per 2-bedroom, wind up, 1-to-1 on the bedrooms, exceeds what we see in other towns regularly. It also exceeds the requirements of like the ITE recommendations. Bottom line is these days, people work from home. Also, we have to recognize that the Quincy Adams T-station is right up the street. And we've got bike racks, we've got all of the bells and whistles that were required by the planning board for good planning.
Dog park?
Dog park, yes, we got a 400, thank you. That's the bump out now, which is currently a non-conforming building, is going to be an enclosed dog park. All recommendations, requests of planning. We've got a transformer, which is in the corner, which is wrapped and covered in plantings, which have already been reviewed and approved. Up on the roof, people had asked about the elevator head house. You can't see it until you're way down. And frankly, the lower the building comes, the more you can see something up there. So all of the HVAC condensers, everything's aggregated around the elevator. So all the good questions were asked by planning. we changed our plans, we responded, and that led to the approval. I will also note, if you will, do you see the other color, which is just south of the building? It's the building in brown. The building overlaps those, so that those are parking spaces that are covered. So it's open in the back, but cars get to pull in. And so that's just something that I wanted to explain on the plan. But enclosed dumpster, we've got, the handicap piece, we've got a widened entrance for Amazon deliveries. We've got the package delivery room in the back next to the door so that everything can happen in there. Anything I'm missing?
The only thing parking is formalization on Independence.
Oh, yeah, that's the other thing. Also, you'll notice as part of this design, the striping formalizes some additional parking along Independence. People park there today, it's not necessarily official. And then also as part of the design, there's some across the street. One of the main concerns early on, which led to us not using that first floor as a residential, not having it as apartment, because there were wishes expressed that this be an ownership model, so that we've got actual owners, not just apartments. So we'll have a model, of ownership, which usually winds up with the homeowners association with reserve for replacement. It winds up in a higher quality building prior to ownership. But this, what this does is people had said, hey, there's not enough parking for the businesses, et cetera, and that, that's something that we don't want you contributing to parking issues. This outstrips any of the other residential uses around, which are, 3-family, they're very nice, but they've got a driveway and, people compete for parking, of course, right? Depending on where you grew up, everyone's familiar with that. May I have the intersection real quick? Finally, going through and taking a look at the neighborhood, you all are very familiar with it. If you take a look at, how close the properties are up to the street, we've got some lower properties, 0 lot line. The building where McKay's is, the walls, it's been there since 1910, 1920. We all know it. We walk by it every day. It's 0 lot line. We have other situations in the neighborhood. I won't call out specific properties, but all of which are examples of what we're looking at. With respect to FAR, some of the open space, given the size of the property, that's another reason for the variance. It's a smallish property. It exceeds the minimum lot size, which is great. And it meets all other requirements with respect to the lot overall. But the bottom line is it's so small and it's so pointed, we only have so much usable portion of the property. And with that, I can take in questions.
Do you have anything there for electric cars to plug in downstairs? You have a couple designated spots?
Right now, I don't believe that we do, but we would be amenable to the extent. Excellent question.
For charging for people coming in the building?
Excellent question.
Just why?
Yeah, we've been doing that on larger, in towns. A lot of towns have requirements with
And
respect
the
to,
parking spaces themselves,
yes,
they're all gonna be designated per unit, per floor, right?
yes.
So whatever, 1 and 2, whatever, 17, 18 could be,
The covered spaces will probably be more, people say, I want to be in line for a covered space because of the winter. But we're planning on having them designated for units.
you got a lot of electric cars coming in. I know the president just said he don't care about the requirement later, but there's gonna be. And these people are coming in. My thing is, if someone owns the building and they own those spaces, then they can wire them themselves as long as it's ready, the building's ready for it. Which means you could have 18 parking spaces that need to plug in.
Yep.
So someone's gotta go down there and wire, but I'm just saying, if, you don't have 18 this week and then someone bid higher on another spot, they're all gonna be designated. Each 9 units are gonna have 2 spaces.
Yep.
Designated from day one.
So pre-wire for, got it.
Which, yeah, you're gonna do that anyway.
Yep.
But I want to know if you agree, every unit's going to have 2 spaces from day one.
Yes.
It's never going to change.
Correct.
Okay, that's all. That was
Absolutely.
my main
Yeah.
thing. People, all of a sudden, I want a covered space, and this outside of mine, no.
Right, so those will be covered, right, through the deeds and the units, absolutely.
Okay. Those are the questions I have. Any?
Just on the design, I think I heard you mention. So the position of the building had to do with where you had to safely be able to pull in from a curb cut. Looked like you had traveling only one way, so is that correct?
Yes, thank you. So it winds up coming off of Independence and moving from west to east. All of the dimensions have been approved by TPAL, also engineering department. Oh, and also you should have the letter of DPW that was submitted as well.
I assume also just in the design, did you look at any type of like platform design over the first level, or like, was that to reduce the height? Is that why, like, the only way you could pull it back then would be to platform it over that first level of parking, right?
And I'm not an architect, so I don't.
Yeah, neither am I. I'm just assuming that you probably looked at every iteration of those things to try and figure out how to maximize space of parking, and this is the.
Oh, the parking has been, it's been run several iterations. Earlier versions tried squeezing more spaces in,
Yeah, yeah.
and then planning's response was, you're chasing substandard spaces.
Alrighty.
And everything else complies. The width of the aisle, it meets NFPA standards for emergency vehicles, et cetera. All the height clearances on the building meet everything. And, a lot of work went into that. But that was, if we try to push something up front, it's not just that it gets narrow from a utility perspective, but aisle width.
Okay.
So cars can't back out.
Yeah. I was more like just trying to figure out a way to get the building back, right? So like the only way to get it back would be to extend the height up, or over some type of platform over those.
We went through so many exercises. It resulted in dropping it 2.5 feet. But that was the result of trying to aggregate the massing in different places, have drive-throughs, parking under, and it didn't pencil. And the building, from an aesthetic standpoint,
Yeah.
got really kind of unwieldy and
Yeah.
not attractive.
And then as far as the front area that will be part of the green space in the
Yes.
front, is that maintained by you all in the association, or is that city maintained?
We'll have, we'll work that out with the city.
Okay.
Because the question was with respect to the trees, et cetera, they will be city property.
Yeah, that's what
We're either have some formal agreement, or I have a feeling that the homeowners association will have an incentive to police it at a minimum. If you go on Google Street View, there is a couple that's jammed in one of the crosswalks, and they've got a dog which is pulling on the leash, and I think the guy's kind of giving a gesture to the Google people. It just shows how tight and just how bad a spot there is to be if you're waiting there.
Appreciate it.
Yep.
Mr. Himmel, any questions?
I'm gonna wait until hear what the residents have to say. Questions, sir.
Mr.
Great,
Chin?
thank you.
Just have a couple of questions about the dimensions of the parking spaces that are closest to the building. The HP space, in particular, looks like it's 8 feet. Are you using some of that curbstone area
Yeah.
as part of the?
So, yes, exactly, Counselor. What we did was, we've got some of those, the pavers that are there. Originally, that was just paved in and all striped, et cetera, just raw. And then the idea was that if we kept it adhering to all of the, all the slope, et cetera, that having it be a little more ample and open visually, that it would be a benefit. In, as far as the site plan review, that I think they asked the same question.
In the parking spaces 17 and 18, are they 7 feet too wide, or I can't tell from the.
No, there's only 5 spots up there, Russell. We had the same problem. So that, there's 6 shown with the both 8 and 8.
Right?
There's 5.
There's five total.
That's to get out. and
Three,
right,
four, and then
You
your
got a
fifth,
van or something?
your
pulling
fifth
in?
space is the handicap space, even though it shows almost as two.
I see.
That's, we were saying the same thing, like, how do you have an 8-foot handicap spot? So it's really
But
16.
conforming and,
I'm assuming.
yeah, those were all, that was reviewed. DPW also, TPAL did too.
Thank you very much.
We had the same issue around here. Glad, great minds think alike.
Yes.
Mr. O'Brien,
Good evening.
good evening.
Is there a bus stop on Independence at the intersection?
That's what I understand that there is.
Are you preserving it? Are you moving it? Or?
We're not planning on moving anything along the street. The one thing that we're looking at doing is, currently there are, utility poles
Yeah.
that are not attractive whatsoever. One of them, the line crosses where the building will be. So we're already in touch with the utility company, on a couple of levels. At a minimum, we foresee having to go out and go around. The preference is if they can work with us to put some portion of that in an underground conduit, that's a preference. Whether they can get there, whether the city can catch up with that, I don't know. Obviously, as well, there's funding with respect to other aspects of the intersection. In a perfect world, this intersection would be rebuilt to match this standard, and the utilities would be placed underground. I understand that TPAL and planning has a longer term, which probably going to coincide with this, to replace the some of the signalization, place it less obtrusive areas, et cetera, but more of an overall intersection improvement program. If there's a bus stop's a big plus for this property. If anyone, if let's say the MBTA wants it moved slightly, et cetera, we can do whatever to move signage, stripe, not a problem. And we want
I
it.
can't recall my visit up there, wherever it is. I know, I'm pretty sure there's one up there though, somewhere.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yes, you're welcome. Thank you, Mr. O'Brien.
Thank you, you can have a seat
Thank you.
first. Is there anyone that wants to speak in favor? First, step forward, name and address for the record, please. Sir, did you take an oath? Did you take an oath? Okay.
Can you walk around the front? Sure. Thank you.
If anyone else wants to speak, come right up beside him if you want to speak in favor. If you don't, that's fine.
So my name is Clark Zera. I live at 9 Independence Ave, which is directly across from this property. I follow this project very closely, of course, because I have a direct view of the property and subject. I have to just comment that, currently it is an eyesore. There's just a bunch of old cars, flat tires, issues with homeless people in the area. People are across the liquor store, maybe getting drunk, passing out. We've had some incidents in our property too with, people trying to steal, maybe tires and stuff like that over the last year. So anything that they're proposing, especially a building of this quality, I would highly, welcome it. It would definitely be a nice change to the neighborhood, and I think would definitely improve the value of everyone around it. That's it. Thank you.
Thank you. Next, name and address for the record, please.
Good evening. My name is Franz Toro and I reside at 244 Independence Ave, just a little bit across the street. I've been living there for over 5 years now. I'm in favor of this project, of course. Reason why is because I think it's going to add value to the city as well as the community. So that will be it. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you very much. Next, name and address for the record, please.
Edgar Kokomani, 4
Say
South
again
Street.
so we can hear. Start again, please.
Edgar Kokomani,
Okay.
4 South Street. Sorry about that. I reside at 4 South Street. All pro for the project. Very good, looking at the Quincy, the way it's developing. I'm just a word progress. I like,
Thank you.
thank you.
Thank you for coming. Mr. Dunn,
Good evening,
haven't
Mr.
seen you in a
Chairman,
while.
board members. Well, I just got out of doing time.
let's get out of what?
No, I support, I support this project. I know there's a lot of talk about the height of the project and so on, but there's one fact nobody brought up. I think when you're heading towards Braintree and you're at that intersection, this building's gonna be a nice screen for that ugly CVS building that's on the other side of it, the way it's gonna wrap around the corner. Right now, you go up there, this ugly service station from 1940 is sitting in the middle of an unkept plot. That's it. And I like the way this building goes around the corner. We have a very responsible developer here who's been around the city for a few years. And in respect for Mr. Sweeney, I know his concerns with the height, but I don't think the height's gonna really bother Mr. Sweeney too much, because sun rises in the east by the time he's doing his business. Sun sets in the west. So as far as shadows, but I do respect Mr. Sweeney, and I understand it. He's a great community member for years, so I just thought I'd mention that too. But I'm in very support of this project,
Thank you,
please.
Mr. Dunn.
Thank you, Mr. Dunn.
Can I have your address, please, sir?
Oh, I'm sorry. Dedham's, 167.
What did the guy say the other day when he was there? Oh, Martha Stewart says, you know, I came from the camp. It's the camp, all right.
Good evening, Chris Ely, 19 North Main Street. And I just would like to say that I'm in favor of this project too. It's certainly going to be a lot more attractive than what we have there now.
Thank you. Anyone else? Second call? Third call? I have one question. Are the tanks still in there, the gas tanks still in there? And do they have,
No,
They're gone?
they're gone. Monitoring wells are there. It's,
on the perk, everything was clean?
everything's clean,
Okay.
which is great.
I had it written down, I forgot to ask you. Thank
Yeah,
you.
that was my third question when I got there.
I got a letter here, we'll call that part of here and close. I got a letter here from DPW. They have reviewed the above referenced project and have no comments. All those letters were answered. Is there anyone opposed or undecided? Step up, name and address for the record, please, Counsel.
Good evening. For the record, my name is Attorney Jack P. Milgram. My office address is 21 Mayor Thomas J. McGrath Highway, Suite 203, Quincy, Mass. 02169. I appear here this evening on behalf of one of the abutters, Sweeney Homes for Funerals, Inc. Obviously, my client is aware that the building and the use is pre-existing non-conforming. And my client is aware that usually it's a good thing to remove automotive use from an area that's partly residential. And of course, redevelopment in that area is a good thing. And as you've heard, my client recently has spent money in investing in his own building. However, my client is of the opinion that to the extent that there's going to be redevelopment, it should comply with the zoning code. Reality is that might not be possible in regards to certain dimensional requirements. However, in regards to height, there isn't anything about the shape of that lot, regardless of whether it's considered to be irregular or not, that necessitates a variance for 4 stories. The only reason why the applicant is seeking a variance to go up 4 stories is for economic reasons. And of course, we all know, we've all, been here for many, many years, that the law going back 100 years is well settled and clear that an economic reason is not a basis for a variance. And if this board were to grant a variance for height, it's my humble opinion that that would be reversed by the land court. But my client is asking this board to do in regards to the height is not to grant a variance, and that to the extent that this project is to pass, in regards to the height, it should be 3 stories. As everybody knows, there's the birthplaces of the 2nd and 6th presidents of the United States across the street. And I know that the Department of the Interior, the Park Service, Mary Ann Peak has submitted a letter, and I know that there's concerns in regards to obstruction of views from those properties. And obviously, as this board will, that should be given due consideration in light of the fact of what those properties are. Obviously, there's no question that this board will also give due consideration to the views of Mr. Sweeney. As everybody knows, Mr. Sweeney's family has owned and operated that funeral home for 75 years, and obviously they've given a lot to the community over the years. Lastly, I would point out, Counselor here, in making his presentation, presented a rendering of the proposed building, and then he said, well, look at this building to the right, look at this building to the left, and you can see it's within character of the neighborhood. And of course, Counselor is correct. That's one of the factors that we look at in making a decision. However, in looking at the building to the right, looking at the building to the left, I think both of those buildings were pre-existing non-conforming prior to 1900. You know, there wasn't any testimony here that there was a variance to go up to 4 stories for those buildings, nor did I hear anything at any point during the presentation anywhere in that area where there's a prior president from this board giving a variance for height going up to 4. And obviously, the concern is if in this situation that's done, it sets a precedent for other lots in that area that are ripe for development, and all of a sudden, we have buildings taller than what's contemplated by the zoning code and what we've had historically in that area. So again, all my client is doing is asking that his considerations be given due consideration. And I appreciate everybody's time this evening. Thank you.
Thank you, Counsel. Is there anyone out opposed or undecided?
Good evening, board members. Ward 2 City Councilor Richard Ash, 7 Silver Street. As you all know, at varying levels of facts and involvement, I've hosted 3 community meetings on this project dating back to January of 2024. The proposal as presented today looks a lot different than it did at that time. And I, on behalf of the residents and bringing those concerns to the property owner and their representatives throughout the year, appreciate all of the changes. It will come as no surprise that my job here is to tell you all what the community thinks and what the residents think, and that is the residents would like to see something that's 3 stories. And again, I don't think that's news to any board members. I know you've all reviewed the plans. At the second planning board meeting, I did ask about taking the height down maybe a foot per floor. The result of that seemingly is the 2-foot 7-inch decrease, which I'll process that. But I appreciate. I mean, it's something, but it's just too small of a decrease. That being said, I'll welcome the board's feedback. I also appreciate the green space in the front there. That's new. Tonight was my first time seeing that. So all of the discussion about more potential development coming to that intersection, I think it's great. Property specific, obviously proposal specific, but it's hard to issue decisions when you don't know what the plan is for the future. So I would encourage you all, and I know that you will before issuing a decision, I would encourage you all to think of that and what the long-term plan is for this intersection, and to make sure that this particular proposal fits in with that, and know that about the 90 residents that have come to the meetings over the last 3 years from that neighborhood are all requesting that the project be 3 stories. So thank you very much.
Thank you, Counsel. Is there anyone else opposed or undecided? Second call? Third call? I have a letter I want to read in here to the record. Yeah.
Ms. Jane Belcher, 63 Bower Road, Braintree, Mass. To whom it may concerns, I'm the owner of 61 and 65 President's Avenue, Quincy, located across the street from the Adams birthplaces. I'm opposed to the proposal in its current form. The proposed 4-story would set the wrong precedent for future development in this historical area.
And the first 2 pages of that, the rest are pictures and comments, but that's Your concerns on the first 2 pages?
First is Marion Peak, Superintendent, Adams National Historical Park, 135 Adams Street, Quincy, Mass. 02169. To the zoning board, I'd like to begin by acknowledging and supporting the O'Connell family's past contributions to the city of Quincy. Over the years, the O'Connells have played a pivotal role in the development and growth of key areas, including Quarry Hills, Marina Bay, and downtown Quincy. The projects have greatly enhanced the city in fostering growth, improving infrastructure, and providing modern amenities to the community. The track record of successful development has been beneficial to Quincy, and I appreciate their longstanding commitment to improving the city. However, I have significant concerns regarding the proposed development at 10 Independence Ave. The development of 4-story, 9-unit complex with parking for 18-plus vehicles is located near the birthplace of homes of Presidents John Adams and John Quincy Adams, a national historical landmark. Given the prominence of the historic area, I believe the proposed scale and design of the development could have a detrimental impact on the visual and historical integrity of the site. The development is planned for a lot smaller than those of neighboring historic salt box houses. While residents of the complex may enjoy views of the historical landmarks, a view from the landmark itself will be obstructed, potentially diminishing the historical value of the site. As Quincy prepares to celebrate its 400th anniversary in 2025 and America's semi-quintessential in 2026, we can anticipate a significant increase in visitors in the national parks in the area. This influx, combined with the limited parking availability raises concerns about the further strain on an already difficult parking situation. As I've raised in previous meetings, I urge the O'Connells and the zoning board to reconsider the following points. Building height and size. A reduction to a 3-story structure would minimize its visual impact on the historic area and minimize issues of shadows cast on adjacent properties. 2, parking. Adequate parking must be provided for residents, especially for larger vehicles and multiple cars per unit. Additionally, sufficient handicap accessible parking is essential. I suggest street parking be limited or eliminated for public safety. 3, design compatibility. To preserve the historic integrity of the site and enhance the experience of tourists visiting the National Historic Landmark, I urge the development to embrace design elements reminiscent of Quincy's early Greek revival style, similar to Old City Hall. See photos attached. This may be perfect timing to consider all options available for design more complementary to the surrounding landscape, highlighting colonial architecture. Key recommendations include columned facade and pediment, incorporating Greek revival columns at the entrance, and a triangular pediment would provide a stately classical look that blends with historical surroundings. Symmetrical design. A symmetrical layout with every spaced window and door would ensure the building integrates seamlessly into the historic landscape. Natural materials and light colors. The building should feature soft, neutral tones such as light gray, white, or beige, with materials like stone or stucco finishes, which would mirror the historic character of the area. Roof design. A gable roof with minimal ornamentation pitched to resemble nearby historic structures would ensure the building complements its surroundings. Additionally, the roof design should incorporate elements to conceal rooftop utilities, preserving the view of historic area. Architectural detailing, subtle but classical ornament with details such as decorative moldings around the windows and doors will add a touch of refinement while maintaining a respectful connection to the historical context. Landscaping and public space. Thoughtful landscaping such as formal gardens, trimmed hedges, and small plazas could soften the transition between the development and the National Historic Landmark. These public spaces could enhance the experience for visitors while reflecting the city's heritage. For public safety and accessibility, pedestrian safety and easy access for snow and trash removal, including delivery trucks, should be prioritized. A designated dog walking area for residents could also enhance the development. The community has expressed a desire for a compromise on the building's size and design, one that respects the historic value of the area and preserves the charm of the natural historic landmark. The proposed structure must not overpower its surroundings, but rather reflect Quincy's history. I respectfully ask the Zoning Board and the Quincy Historic Commission to reconsider the development's design and scale. A more thoughtful approach will ensure that this project aligns with the city's heritage while meeting the needs of modern development. Thank you for your time and consideration. The decisions made today will shape Quincy's future surrounding this neighborhood, and I trust they will be made with respect to our city's unique history. Pass it off, so it's-
Last call. Anyone opposed or undecided? Counsel, you want to say a few words?
Yes, thank you very much. Just real quickly, responding, I appreciate Attorney Milgram's comments. I thought, like, was very careful. Economic basis, he's absolutely right. You can't say this developer will make more money if you add on. That's where it comes down. And I didn't say economic basis, it's substantial hardship. And I think that on several occasions I wove in the substantial hardship that came up with the shape of this property, also the lack of the ability to put in a basement, which would support the utilities, the need to have the first floor, all of that short of coming up. When I say that this doesn't pencil, it's because of all of those physical impediments that are currently present there that have to be overcome in order to transition this from the obsolete garage to something that will be used for a residential basis. Moreover, I do appreciate when people say, we never know what's going to come around the corner. We need to grant variances based on the long term, et cetera. I hear that in many cities and towns, and I understand that. And that's the reason that the ZBA hears each application individually. They weigh everything. I think that, and we do this on purpose, is we go through.
All right, Counsel, wrap it up, please.
Yes, thank you very much. I appreciate that. Forward-looking is where we're going. So if we want to look towards the future, we're looking towards the future, the intersection, and having it be improved.
Thank you very much. Last call. Call it part of the hearing closed. Did you take an oath? I did. You did?
I did indeed, sir.
I
Thank you
didn't
for
see
listening
it,
to
but
me.
go ahead.
Ian Danby, 143 Phipps Street.
Yep.
I would like to look, if we can, at some of the photographs of the.
What's your questions? Ask the board the questions.
Okay,
We will give you an answer.
Does that 42 foot 7 inches include the elevator shaft?
Say it slow, I can understand.
Does the 42 feet and 7 inches include the elevator shaft?
Sit, please. Finish.
Okay, so as I understand it, they're requesting a variance on the height, the front setback, the side setback on one side, the side setback on another side, and the back setback.
Because it's a corner lot, correct? It's like any house. You know,
Right,
you have-
right.
you have two
So-
fronts, two sides.
If it was only 3 stories high and 12 units and only needing 6 units only needing 12 parking spaces, I think they'd find a lot more space in this, as Councillor said, extremely small lot to fit a building without requiring all of those variances. So I am opposed to this project
Okay,
as it
thank you,
currently
sir, for
stands.
your
Thank
time.
you.
Call that part of the hearing closed. You know, at first I didn't like this, and there's been a lot of changes since that. You did a lot of changes. You made that intersection safe. You really did. The green spot in the front, dog walk in the back, place for electric cars, two units, 2 bedrooms, 2 parking. And it's 9 units. It's not 15 units. It's not 18 units. You're not trying to make smaller units on those floors to put in 18 units. That space, you could put in 18 units in that place if you worked it right, and you could. But you'd have to work on that parking issue too. But I think you really built quite a building that Quincy is gonna be proud of, because I'm gonna vote in favor. And I think coming down that street, once that building's up, a year later, everyone's gonna say, you know what? That's a good-looking building, it's a good-looking intersection, and it's safe. And I commend you for all the changes, and thank you for listening to the neighborhood. Could you get to 3 stories? No, you couldn't. Council asked you for 3 feet. And get to 2 feet, 7 inches for them. I mean, you've done a lot to do what you can to change the building to make the neighbors happy. And when I see that, I mean, I know it, it costs. It costs to build buildings. It just costs. You gotta buy land, you gotta buy this, you gotta buy that. And then you put in the extra stuff, the trees, the this, the bricks. But you start adding all that stuff up, it's a nut. I get it. Do I want giant buildings? No, I don't. I want something that's gonna work for the neighbor. To me, that's gonna work for the neighbor, and I wanna condemn you for what you did. I think you did a great job. was my comments.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think there's a desirable location on the lot to place the building, like, you know, I mean, talking about pulling it back, then you're on platforms, like, you probably, you can't dig down there, that's a, you know, hazard from the prior owner. I certainly understand the history of, the city, and I'm trying to be cognizant and respectful of it. Don't know that as a board, you can, like, at least on this, we've had this come up before with with it being in the historic district, like, I don't think we can really, like, change the design of a building, you know, like, and thinking about what the recommendations were made, like, and then as far as the counselor's comments in terms of understanding the planning of the future of the intersection,
Can't see that either.
we don't, on my decade plus on this board, we've never been shown anything about the future of any area. So, you know, I urge you, Counselor, as you know, it would be something, you know, we talk about the impact on a school system or the, you know, as we approve these things, like, they're not in our purview from a zoning approval. I think the one thing that, you know, was brought up numerous times was the height. And I certainly am conscious of trying to figure out a way to do that. I just don't see how you could do it. I don't see how you, I mean, just paring it down, you're gonna rip off 3 units. I understand the cost, probably doesn't learn from a pencil.
Right.
But that's not gonna be implicated, that's not the reason for my decision.
No.
I think,
No, not at all.
no, I mean, I'm in favor as it stands.
Mr. Hamel?
Well, this has come a long way since we originally looked at this, and the neighborhood certainly put a lot of input into it. Do I like it? No. Is it better than what's there? Absolutely. It looks like the city has signed on to this and doing some road restructuring and opening that corner up wider. The 4 corners are a mess now. The traffic's horrible. Will this add to it? Marginally. Would I like to see it 3 stories as opposed to 4? Yes. Would I like to see a Jiffy Lube there or something else? No. I am reluctantly going to vote for this, even though I know I absolutely think this will end up at land court, but that's my opinion. But I will be voting in the positive.
In my opinion, the height issue being what it is, if the reason why you can't reduce the height is because of the water table, which is what the representation was, and
And
not,
it floods there all the time.
and not because of 21E issues or hazardous waste issues, where you don't want to dig any deeper than you need to. That to me, that contributes to the need for the variance, the topography, the nature, the shape of the lot, and so forth. The community contributions of Mr. Sweeney and Mr. O'Connell is irrelevant. I mean, with great respect to both of them, they've made tons of contributions to the city, but that doesn't factor into this equation, to me. There is precedent already there for various buildings close by with heights of 40 feet plus. Whether or not they came before this board for a variance or not is also not material. So I'll be voting in favor.
Thank you, Mr. O'Brien.
Likewise, I'll be voting in favor. I think that, my opinion is that the developer has responded to the community's largest concerns, done whatever he could do to get to where he is, with the understanding that there's a little give and take on both sides. My give for them would be to get the 4th story, the traffic improvements, and just in general to increase the visibility and the beauty of that intersection is probably just the beginning. Hopefully they'll follow up with some additional developments that will come along and make that whole intersection really a nice visually to see from beginning to end. And I'll also be voting in favor.
Thank you. Could I have a motion, please?
Mr. Chairman, ZBA 2485, Jeffrey Tokyo for variance and finding to raise the existing structure and construct a 9-unit residential condo building with 18 on-site parking spaces on the premise number 10 Independence Ave, Quincy, Mass. I make a motion to grant the variance and findings.
Second.
On the motion, seeing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, so moved.
Excellent. Thank you very much. Appreciate
Thank
it.
you, Council. Yeah.
25 years ago.
Tonight's agenda, DBA 2487, Anderson Louis for a variance to demolish
That was a long one.
existing rear porch and construct a two-story addition to the premises 133 Fennel Street in Quincy. Is the applicant or representative here?
Thank you very much. I appreciate it.
Council, you have the floor. Oh, sorry, I thought you were up. There you go. What? Charlie signed it? That's all right.
Charlie, what?
Charlie.
Give me one to sign this.
Oh, that's all right.
Well, there's only one way out.
Well, not really. You can hit the alarm.
Yeah, you have to go out that way, so we'll get him on the
We'll
way
get him
out.
on the way out. Here, slide him under the door. That'd be too funny, wouldn't it?
Fire away, my man.
Good evening, chairs and members of the board. My name is Anderson Louis, attorney and homeowner of a single-family home at 133 Fennel Street in Wollaston, Massachusetts, residential B.
Is he on?
And with me tonight is my general contractor, Evan Luongo, from Luongo Contracting LLC. So thank you so much for your time to hear about my project tonight. I'll try to keep it short.
Are you-
Yes,
Are you a counsel?
I am a counsel. I'm an
But
attorney,
also a
also a homeowner.
I know you're the homeowner, but I didn't hear you say that. I just wanted to know if I didn't see you take a note. Go ahead.
Says
Chairman.
Esquire.
I didn't read it. I didn't read
I just
that.
like to put it there.
I'm reading square footage. What's this? I already been in the backyard.
I know, I saw him
What's like-
yesterday. So I represent myself, I'm the attorney. So again, I'll keep it short. I know you have a long night. So this request is pretty straightforward. Now, this request is to take down a back porch that's really in a bad shape.
Yeah.
In the back of the house and build a two-story addition in the back of the house with a lot size of 5,830 square feet and the current living space of 1,630 square feet. First, the purpose of this project is to provide a reasonable medically necessary accommodation for my mother-in-law, who is over 70 years old. She suffered a fall last year. Since then, she has major pain. And we just look to put in a first floor bedroom and bathroom on the first floor, and so that she doesn't have to go up and down the stairs to her current bedroom on the second floor, risking further injuries and just mitigating her pain and risk. So there should be a medical letter in your file from her medical provider documenting this
Yeah, I
necessity.
have it here from South Code.
Yep, if you don't have it, then I have a copy.
We
that I
have
can
it right
provide. Yep. And second, the new addition will offer more living space for my two young children who are currently sharing a single small bedroom on the second floor as well. And moving on to the home itself, the property predates the current zoning ordinance that was established in the 1940s. As we all know, I think the house was built in the 1930s. So the lot, the structure is a pre-existing non-conforming lot.
Yeah, if you can go through the pictures, what it's gonna look like for them in here.
Yep.
They have, thanks.
Yep, so this is the assessor's plan. The map is on Fennel Street, surrounded by two single-family homes on the left and right, and a large apartment building on the back in the parking lot. And you can see the houses around the neighborhood are in various sizes, and I think the project would fit right into the neighborhood.
We just did one on since.
You'll get your chance, sir. I know you can't speak. Now, I'll let you.
No, this is the plot plan, it's the survey, so I'm just gonna quickly go over the setback. The existing setback, side setback is 6.4 feet from the adjacent lot, 131 Fennel Street. On the right-hand side, again, which predates the required minimum of 13 feet side setback in the code. And the proposed new side setback will just be a 6.3 feet, or a 0.1 feet reduction. And the new FAR will be 0.41. Again, it's just slightly over the 0.4 requirement in residential B. I mean,
Keeping it right in the footprint of the building, correct?
yes, sir.
Yeah.
Therefore, the proposed setback and FAR will not be significantly affecting the neighborhood compared to the existing condition. These are the only relief we're asking for. And you can see the left-hand side, we're not doing too much changes, and it's already at 6.2 setback from the main structure, and the addition, we have plenty. We have 16.2 on the left-hand side. And then on the rear setback, we have plenty of room as well. We meet the requirement, as well as the front. I'm speeding through this for you tonight so you can get out early. So now we're looking at the architecture plan. Again, from the top, on the left-hand side is the first floor, the current layout. The cover deck or the back porch, we're going to take it out. Then we have a kitchen, dining room. Right-hand side, we have a living room. Next to it, we have an office, but it's actually just a sunroom, sun porch. You can see the drafty window, no insulation. It's just during COVID, we work from home. We just put a laptop in a desk, and the architect just labeled it as an office, and a half-bath tiny one at the corner. Right-hand side, second floor, 3 bedrooms, a tiny full bathroom on the second floor. Now we're moving on to the proposed floor plan. We're not changing anything in the main structure other than some doorways. So again, the back porch is replaced. We're still going to have a small 4-season porch to store yard tools or toys and that kind of stuff. And then right next to it, we have the bedroom for the grandma and a full bath with a shower for her. So we're trying to make it accessible, laundry room, so she doesn't have to go up and down the stairs to the basement to do her laundry.
Right.
Nothing's changing on the first floor. And then on the right-hand side, second floor, we have a smaller addition. I'm going to go over the dimension in a second. So just a small bedroom so the kids can, each get their own bedroom, how siblings can fight on a good day or a bad day, and a walk-in closet for our storage. Okay, the dimension, the first floor addition is about 15 feet times 30 feet, about 474 square feet. Addition, the second floor is smaller, 15 feet times 20 feet, about 315 square feet addition. Combining the two floors, we only have a 791 square feet addition. Adding to the existing living space, we have a 2,421 square feet total living space, which is relatively modest in the area. I want to address some of your potential concern here.
If we have any concerns, we'll let you know, really. I think we got the gist of what you got in the property. I think I've heard enough. I think everyone here has heard enough. But
Okay.
any questions? I don't have any questions. 'Cause I was at your house. I saw exactly what you're gonna do, and I looked at the plans 2 times over.
Okay.
I don't have any questions. You have any questions?
No questions.
You can have a seat. Is there anyone that wants to speak in favor? First call? Yeah, you can go up.
No, I was just gonna say,
Name and address for the record, sir.
I'm,
You gotta talk into the mic, you really do, because we gotta keep it on record. And you're on TV now, you're a star. Look at this.
promotion for the business.
12 Greenwood Terrace, Somerville, Evan Luongo Contracting. I'm just
What's your
saying,
name?
Evan, EVN, Luongo. I'm just stating that we just did a Sims project. We've been currently building, in Quincy now for 12 years. We take pride in our work. We see a lot of areas in that neighborhood that's just, getting a little bit of addition, kind of bringing the family, keeping people in the neighborhood. He's been in here for a while. I don't really see a problem with it. We got permission from the guy back the street. We have a good kind of plan on, minimal minimal disturbance, and I think it's a good project to continue building that area. We have a few other projects coming up right along that street line, so I'm for it. He's a good client. He's already done the front deck access. We've cleaned up the driveway. We've been trying to maintain stuff like your properties. I kind of get my clients to build and to better their properties before we bring it forward.
Thank you. Thank you for your time. Is there anyone else want to speak in favor? Second call, third call? Anything from DPW?
Just, oh, that's it.
Here's a letter of support, and then
John Gorey, 151 Fenno Street. Received the abutters notice, won't be able to attend. I just wanted to express my full support for my neighbor Anderson Louis' request for a variance to build an addition on his home at 133 Fenno Street. It'd be great for his aging mother-in-law to have a bedroom and bath on the first floor, and there's plenty of room on the lot for this addition without disrupting any of the streetscape in any way. I know sometimes neighbors object to these kinds of things, so I just wanted the board that he has my neighborly support for this
that's a
project.
letter from his university.
This is from South Cove Community Center, Zhang Jing Chen. Miss Lee has been in my care since 2015, suffers from low back pain, abdominal pain. Walking up and down the stairs has made the pain significantly worse. It is difficult for her to go up and down stairs and have basic ADL due to the pain. To avoid the pain and ensure safety, it's necessary to make the change for her living environment. Adding a new bedroom and bathroom to the ground floor of the existing home will allow her to move from the second floor to the ground floor and so help solve the problems and live independently and safely in her home.
Thank you. Call that part of the hearing closed. I have a letter here from the DPW. They have reviewed the above referenced project and have no comments. Is there anyone opposed or undecided? First call, second call? Third call? Closed. Hanging in, huh, boss? There he goes, Miller Street. I'll be voting in favor. I think it's a good project.
I'm in favor.
In favor.
So a question that came up regarding
Sure.
the parking spaces. On the dimensional form, he's indicating there's 2 existing and
Yep.
then 0 required. I'm just curious to know if there are going to be an addition to the number of bedrooms? Would there not be an addition to the number?
He's making them bigger, right? You still have the bedroom upstairs, correct?
We still have a bedroom.
Small.
We still have a bedroom
Make it
upstairs. We're
bigger.
gonna use it as an office. Me and my wife work from
Now it's
home.
gonna be a bedroom.
And then there's a single car garage space as
So
well.
you have the same number of bedrooms, not increasing? Is that what you're saying?
One.
There will be one on the first floor addition and then second addition on the second floor. So we will be increasing the bedroom number. So for a total of 5 bedrooms, one will be used as an office.
So 4 bedrooms.
So 4
One
bedroom, 1 office. Yes.
So there's no opposition?
Yeah, none.
All right.
None.
We also have a
And it's
single
all-
car
it's all,
garage.
Right there where he's parking and where he parks, he's got his 2 cars that he can go in there. Is tough enough. I mean, you'd have to, I don't even know if he could get his walkway over more to move that wall another 8 feet or whatever. You'd take out the whole front of the house and have to have a walkway on the other side of the house.
Yeah, it wouldn't work. It's a
Yeah.
modest addition. I'm
Tough, yeah.
in favor of it.
Yeah.
In favor.
Can I have a motion, please?
Mr. Chairman, ZBA 2487 Anderson Louis for a variance to demolish an existing rear porch constructing 2-story addition on the premise number 133 Fennel Street, Quincy. Make a motion to grant the variance.
Second.
On the motion, seeing none, all in favor? Opposed? So moved.
Thank you for your time.
Gentlemen, we could sign this. We got one last case.
Yeah, fun to be back.
No. No,
Let somebody else have to do the reading.
All right. All right, guys, last case we got here, 54 Miller Street.
AM radio voice going.
That was my favorite.
I just don't understand.
CBA 2490, Aspire Health Alliance for a special permit to operate a medical clinic utilizing the existing medical office.
Definitely want that.
Building for the mental health treatment of patients on the premises number 54 Miller Street in Quincy. Counselor, you're up.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, members of the board. Great to see you all. I do represent Rob Fleming from Fleming and Fleming. I do represent the applicant here, Aspire Health Alliance. So the board knows, formerly South Shore Mental Health. You know how the work they've done over the years. With me this evening, I have 2 representatives from Aspire, Janice Sullivan and Kristen Woodbury. And our architect is Timothy Burke of Timothy Burke Architects. If I may be very brief, I know everybody wants to get out of here. Just a brief introduction of my client, Aspire themselves. Founded in 1926, Aspire Health Alliance is a private nonprofit behavioral health agency providing services for children, teens, and adults experiencing serious emotional challenges, behavioral issues, and substance abuse. Continuing to evolve to meet the needs of the community, Aspire Health Alliance provides services that assist people in acquiring and maintaining the physical, mental, and social skills needed to function most effectively in our communities. And may I say, it's been an honor to represent Aspire, the work they do. It's been a real privilege for me, and I'm happy I could be at least a small part of them continuing their mission to help many people. So first off, existing conditions, 54 Miller Street. You're probably well familiar with it. That's sort of at the beginning of Furnace Brook Parkway and our expressway going into Boston. It's a building, 4-story building that's actually sat vacant since 2023 at this point with the failure of Compass Medical. The site consists of approximately 51,000 square feet. It's in a business zone, Business B zoning district, currently improved by an existing 32,000 4-story medical office building. The first floor itself is really just for a little bit of parking and for access to the building itself. So any office space is on the second, third, and fourth floor of this building, and that's what I'll be referencing as I move forward. This was a building, as you all know, that was previously permitted back in 2012 by both our City of Quincy Planning Board and this board as well. So it went through very, very thorough review when Compass Medical actually built it back in 2012. Compass Medical, as I've said, no longer in existence. They vacated back in 2023. So what is the use? And I think you kind of
Well, the lot,
understand.
because you make it
you
a
know.
clinic, correct?
It is a clinic, and it's strictly going to continue to be used as medical office building. A medical clinic, it's a little bit gray on how a medical clinic is defined. Aspire is both licensed by the Commonwealth of Massachusetts Department of Mental Health and Public Health as well as a medical clinic. So we're here this evening needing your help for a special permit so they can operate in this particular location as a medical clinic.
That's part of the
Very
third floor,
important.
correct?
Yeah, so moving forward here, they are moving their community behavioral health center currently at 460 Quincy Avenue. That's a building, if you've seen it, old, it's very antiquated. It's not up to the standards that are required by the Commonwealth of Massachusetts. This new building at 54 Miller is. So that's a big part of the reason. It's bigger. They've outgrown 460 Quincy Avenue as well. So this is an extremely important move for them to be able to continue their services to our people. The third and fourth floors of the particular building will be used by Aspire as their outpatient services, which includes visits, with mental health clinicians and doctors, diagnosis, psychological and neuropsychological testing, psychopharmacology, to deal with, and help people and children and teens with, depression, anxiety, grief, trauma, substance abuse use as well. And this is where it gets a little more interesting. The second floor will be the mental crisis services. These are individuals that are experiencing sort of a higher level of mental illness, so they need even more care.
Is that gonna be overnight, you're staying there?
Yeah, so on a limited capacity, the second floor now, which is right above, will be used for that purposes. Tim will present this evening, but there's very little modification that's being done to the existing building, other than the second floor to provide for actually individual rooms for these patients. So, the medical crisis services are made up both of community mobile crisis intervention, 24 mental crisis services by clinicians and triage staff. Overnight and weekend volume is minimal, maybe 5 per week. You're seeing these people. And then short-term overnight community crisis stabilization program is licensed by our Department of Mental Health here in the Commonwealth.
Very, very important. Please understand that these people, it's not a locked facility, you know, for these patients, you know.
Is it the one at 460?
This has, to- and
Yes, it is.
yeah, Janice is here and Kristen are here, they could speak a little bit more on that. They are allowed to leave, you know, obviously some
Well, they're
people.
allowed to leave, they say
Yeah,
no.
they do.
But the doors are locked.
Yeah.
I can't walk in there. I
Right.
gotta go to a guard station. I went in, I visited a few people that are in there.
Right.
And that's a good thing.
Yeah,
That's a good thing. You don't want them running out in the street if they're having a crisis.
absolutely
They
right.
should be locked up.
And that, what I really wanted to talk about, you know, for these people that will be staying overnight, everything is closely monitored.
Right.
You
So you're
know,
taking 460
24/7.
and do away with it.
I'm sorry?
You're taking everything out of 460 then?
That's correct.
Okay.
That's correct, yep. But it's no longer suitable for them, for a lot of different reasons, which
No,
I
I
gave,
get
you
it,
know.
I get it.
This new building is, so they were very fortunate. Thank you to Counselor Devine as well. We did have a meeting with him individually, had a great meeting right at the facility, right at the new building itself. He has spoken to a number of neighbors, just to make sure there's no concerns. We didn't hear of anything until this evening.
Whoa.
Counselor Devine did convey to me that there was one neighbor that expressed some concern, and it was what I just talked about, you know, people that want to leave, you know, how is that done?
Yeah.
You know, are people going to be leaving and hanging in a particular neighborhood? That does not happen.
No.
It doesn't happen at 460 Quincy Avenue. It's not going to happen here either. Yeah, they're allowed to go and stay on premises. It's monitored, you know, and they need to come back at a certain period of time. So these are not patients that are going to have full reign of premises and walk all over the neighborhoods. It's closely monitored and controlled by Aspire staff 24/7. Unless you have questions for me, I'm just going to let Tim present.
I've visited them a lot of times because I do a lot of work in that area.
Great.
And it's locked up. It's safe.
Yep.
And when someone's having a crisis, you go in. I mean, 460, when I went in there, it was deplorable, really. I felt so bad for the people there that are having crises and being in that kind of environment, really. They need a new environment. They need something nice. They need a new building. They need something they can look at a wall as pink, not as bad orange.
It's that, and it's sunshine as well in this building, so it's great.
It's money. I get it.
Yeah.
I get it.
Yeah.
I really get it. This happened to be open. Thank God for Aspire for taking that over. I think it's a great thing. I
Excellent.
really do. And
Excellent.
the people that go, they need that. They need it. They need a fresh face, like a fresh building.
Absolutely. Can't agree with you more. So I just want to, Tim Burke is here, just to kind of touch on some of the minimal renovations they'll be doing for one or two of the floors. Thank you, Tim.
Thank you, Bob. Good evening. My name's Timothy Burke. I'm the architect for the project. I have a business address of 142 Berkeley Street in Boston. And I worked with Aspire to try to make 460 work for them, and that building, it beat us. It's a beast. So we were not able to really do anything there, and it's a little sad right now. This building, it's amazing how it fits, you know, like Cinderella's slipper, it just right for their program. It really requires very little work for us to do inside. This drawing that you see here shows all 4 floors. Lower right is the first floor, which is only the entryway with elevators and egress stairway and some mechanical space. There will be a 24-hour security person there to keep an eye on the grounds and the building access. And then to the left of that is the second floor that Rob was just talking about. On the right-hand side is the Community Crisis Center done in that kind of pink color. There are 10 bedrooms there and a community space. So the idea is to create a home-like environment for the residents and help them get through a crisis situation that they're in. And the state has this program in order to keep people out of hospitals. It's a very efficient way and more effective treatment. The upper levels are staying pretty much like it was. It was built as a medical office building. We did take out some of the heavier stuff like radiology. We don't do any of that kind of thing. So we were able to repurpose those with someone. And so a limited amount of work up there. It's mostly to create some staff areas and some group meeting rooms. But other than that, the building's in very good shape. and has all the modern systems that we need. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone have any questions of them?
Council, what's the on-site parking? How much is it?
The on-site parking is, I think you have about a dozen under building, and then scattered throughout the site is another 80 plus,
Okay.
it's quite a few
I knew
spaces,
there
yeah.
was plenty, I just was wondering if.
Yeah, quite a few.
Like 30.
I'm sorry?
There's a lot underneath.
There's underneath? Yeah, there's quite a few, quite a few.
No questions.
A question regarding the commitments. Is this going to facilitate 14-day commitments like you would see at Mass General? No.
I could have them speak.
I can,
If you could
Name
just
and address
rephrase
for
your
the
question.
record, please.
Okay.
Did you take an oath, ma'am?
I did.
Okay.
Hi, I'm Kristen Woodbury, and my business address is 1501 Washington Street in Braintree. They're not committed there, so they are not under a section. This is a voluntary program. Typical stay is about 5 days, and which most people probably are in the 3 to 5 day stay.
It's all mental health, it's not abuse or.
No, it's
substance abuse.
everyone there has a behavioral health diagnosis, typically a mental health diagnosis, usually depression, anxiety. There has to be a level of safety. If they reach kind of that criteria that it's unsafe, we would have them go to a hospital versus our setting.
In terms of medication, will you have a psychiatrist?
Yep, we have a psychiatrist or nurse prescriber that is either on site or on call 24/7.
Okay, thank you.
Can you clearly define approximately how many patients are you anticipating for the overnight and how many staff will be
Yeah.
accompanying them?
Yep. So on the overnight, there will be in the building 3 to 5 staff. The 3 to 5 is because there's crisis clinicians that may either be on site or in the community. But there will be at minimum 3 staff plus the security guard that will be 24/7. There are 10 bedrooms. I can tell you we average right now around between 6 and 7.
Okay. And is Aspire the owner of the building or is this a lease arrangement?
We are not. It is a lease arrangement.
Okay, and who are the members of the 54, who owns the building? Who is 54 Miller LLC?
Who are they?
Yes.
I've never met any of them. They did sign an authorization for this application before this board this evening.
How long is the lease that Aspire has signed?
10 years? 10 years.
Are there renewal options on that?
5 years.
They two 5-year options, I think. I wasn't privy to the lease, but I think it was 2 5-year options.
I think we'd
Yeah.
like some more transparency on who the actual owners of the building are.
It's an LLC, but I could certainly get that information.
Members of the
for you.
LLC, please.
Oh, sure, yep, absolutely.
Thank you.
Any other questions? No? You can have a seat, council. Does anyone like to speak in favor? Want to speak in favor? First call, second call, third call closed. I got a letter here from the DPW. They reviewed the above referenced subject and have no comments. Anyone opposed or undecided?
Joan Felby, 45 Lion Street. I'm undecided.
Okay.
I realize there's no health without mental health. I live on Lion Street, and I've just heard tonight there was a community meeting, but I would say that Lion Street residents, and I'm here with at least 3 of them, nobody knew about that community meeting.
I can't hear you.
Nobody knew about the community meeting that the city
Was
council
tonight?
had.
What was it?
Couldn't tell you.
Oh, I don't know. Counselor?
We didn't have a community meeting. I met with the DCs at property to hear what they were talking
Okay.
Oh, not the residents.
All right. No, go ahead.
Okay. Thanks for the explanations of what's going to be going on there. And I just know I attended the meetings back in, I think it was 2012 and 2014 when the building was first made. There is some signage at the top of the building. Presently says, I think Compass or Steward Medical. So if Aspire is going to be in there, is the intention for the signage to be changed? And would the sign regulations from 24 still be kept in place?
I don't know. They're gonna go down and get a permit. If they can't get a permit, they gotta come back here. If they want to change the sign and move something different, they'll come back here. We have a right to speak again to them.
Okay.
They're only gonna do the regulations, what they want to do. They can't change them unless they come here if they want different than the regulations. That's what this board does.
Okay. And I appreciate the explanations about what they will do there, but I mean, I've seen in the news some sorts of treatments that go on at other facilities, in particular Judge Rottenberg, where they do shock treatment. I don't know if that's going to be going on here. Okay, thank you. And then I guess as a resident, I'm curious if I would request no benches outside. I mean, if it's not locked, I mean, I wouldn't want anybody loitering outside or wandering onto the highway unnecessarily.
You know, whatever their rules are, those rules from the clinic. We have nothing to do with that. So I have nothing to do with what that building does. No one on this board does. What we do is say, what are you gonna use the building for? Yay and nay. That's what we do. So if you wanna deal with them, you're gonna have to deal with the state, the city. I'm not gonna tell them they can't hang outside when the law says they can hang outside. These aren't people that are in a locked ward. They just said it wasn't even a locked ward, what they have in there. The ones I've been in are locked. Most people I see, I don't go in if it's not locked. They're having a bad week and they gotta fix something and they're in and out in a couple of days, that's fine. But when someone's that bad, they're not gonna put them walking around your neighborhood. They're not, they're just not.
No, and as I said, it's closely monitored, and any patients that are allowed to go outside to take a quick walk
Okay.
on the premises are closely monitored, and that's timed as well. Then they come and bring them back in. So you're not going to have people wandering the neighborhood at all.
And was curious if there's any ambulances that bring patients to this facility.
Yes, there, can I speak?
Yeah, go ahead. They come from the hospital. They
Yeah,
come
so
down.
if someone was, typically when someone comes from the hospital to our unit, they're rarely in ambulances, but occasionally. The ambulances would be more so if there was someone in our building that needed a higher level of care that was either seen by our crisis team or on our unit or through our outpatient, and we would call an ambulance to come to transport them to the hospital. So they do come, but it's typically going, not coming.
And if you could touch on sirens and lights, and is that typically necessary or not?
So if someone is, we can't totally control, but we do call non-emergency for ambulances when we can. If someone is calm, cooperative, willing to go, we will call the non-emergency line and ask for an ambulance. And typically, even when we need to section and call the police, we will give them what's going on in the situation. And a lot of times they're able to come without lights and sirens, but there are times they do.
And then I guess I would just echo, I had the same sort of concern. I don't know who owns the building because I went on the state of Massachusetts website and it looks like people that were formerly officers of Signature Health or Compass.
I don't know who LLC is, 55.
I'm sure Stewart had some ownership in the building. That's how they sold off all their real estate. I'm
Right,
sure
they
there's
sold it all
some type of Stewart ownership, some type of VC.
So Aspire comes here as a tenant, not
Yes.
as the
Yes.
owner.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Did I ask you for your name again? I'm sorry.
Sure. Joan Falvey, Falvey, 45 Lyons Street.
Thank you.
Is there anyone else like speak? Second call, third call, Counselor? You're famous tonight, brother. You're famous tonight.
I know. James Devine, 117 Cross Street. An apology to my constituents on Lion Street. I didn't realize it was going to be an issue. I thought since it was across the parkway and trees, it wouldn't be a big deal. But I see that now they have concerns, and some of them we've already addressed. I met with the new leases one morning. They told us what they were doing. I relayed the fact that we wouldn't like to see a methadone clinic. There was one in Brewer's Corner at one point, and there was just congregation of people hanging out starting at 7 o'clock, and they were mingling with all the students, which was a poor place for it. Now, I feel that our neighborhood on Cross and Miller, there's 11 houses. One of the people that lives there, they've lived there the property's been in their family, I think, for 3 generations. Out of those 11 houses, every single person is owner occupied, unless it's a 2-family, and then there's owner occupied on one side and renters on the other. Even though it's a busy area, we've afforded a very quiet situation. There's not very much foot traffic, nobody wandering around. I expressed this to the leases, that if they came in and we started seeing people wandering around, they would have to make sure that the police that themselves, and they said that they do and they don't foresee that. One of my neighbors, has concerns that if it would go bigger, to be, instead of just a few beds, that it's gonna get more and more. So he wants to just make sure that what they're selling here is actually gonna stay the same, that it just doesn't all of a sudden turn into something
Right.
more drastic.
Right.
Everybody, a few of the other neighbors, they had similar concerns, but at the same time, they recognize mental health is a major problem, and they need to do it somewhere. It's a beautiful building. The landlord, when Compass left, I reached out and asked that I don't know them, but I reached out to the city and asked them to contact them to make sure that the property was maintained to the standard that they had been doing. When they built it, they built really nice lighting that doesn't illuminate everywhere. So the property is pretty nice. So I hope that the new lessees, and it seems like they're very nice, will follow suit with that and keep the neighborhood the same. It doesn't seem like a neighborhood, but it really is. And as far as the people on Lion Street, they are actually, now that we're talking about, they are extremely close. They're only just a few trees and one street across, even though you can't get there from there, but they can easily walk. So just going forward, I hope that the lessees work really well with the neighbors and take care of any issues that might come up, because, it's a nice area, and but we'd also like to see, the mental health taken care of, so, all right?
Thank you, Mr. Devine. I appreciate you taking the time and hanging out all night with us. I just have to go back here for 1 second. Yeah, this is the Manor Community Health, and I want that letter written in. It was in favor of the proposition we're doing, looking
From
at.
Cynthia Sierra, dear members of Quincy Zoning Board, on behalf of Manor Community Health Center, I'm ready to voice our support for Aspire Health Alliance's request for a special permit, which will allow Aspire to relocate its community behavioral health center to a new location at 54 Miller Street in Quincy. Manor is a 501c nonprofit federally qualified health center dedicated to providing preventative primary care and integral behavioral health services to all, regardless of financial circumstances or health insurance coverage status. Manor has been serving the community since 1979 at 4 primary care locations: Quincy, Hull, 2 in Taunton, 1 in Attleboro. Manor also has a community outreach and prevention service office in Quincy to provide easy access to harm reduction materials, education, and testing. Manor and Aspire share many patients and work collaboratively together to ensure that our patients have access to behavioral health care, including crisis and behavioral health services provided by the Aspire CBHC. Manor has integrated urgent and short-term behavioral health services to its continuum of care and relies on Aspire as a provider of ongoing, longer-term care. Together, we work to meet patients where they are to engage them in the right level of care for their behavioral health. With the advent of CBHC services servicing Quincy and surrounding communities, access to behavioral health care has significantly improved. The building at 54 Miller Street will provide an improved location to support Aspire's CBHC services. It is a newer green building and laid out to take advantage of windows and light to provide a positive environment for care and work. It is located on a central transportation line convenient to major highways with adequate free parking for staff and clients. It allows Aspire to expand CBHC services to meet the growing needs of its community and represents Aspire's commitment to the residents of the city of Quincy and surrounding regions similar to ours at Manor. Thank you for considering Aspire's request, and I'm happy to provide more information if needed.
Thank you. Call it part of the hearing closed. I'll be voting in favor. I think this is a small thing that they're doing, changing that building. I'm so glad Aspire Health bought it or renting it, whatever they want to do. They got 10 years to decide with that too. So I'll be voting in favor.
I'll be voting in favor. I just want to make a comment to the council. I appreciate you always being here, but
Yeah.
I just want to say, I think this is part of the zoning code that might be able to be looked at. I don't understand a little bit from the aspects of why we're seeing it, so I just urge you to maybe to ask some questions up above. It's a lot time and effort spent for essentially the same use. I know it's mental health versus, medical health, but it's, in the midst of a crisis, it's taken however much permitting for these people to get, the stability that they require for their patients. I think it's just kind of a disservice we've done to both the city, its residents, and its providers of mental health, so.
But when
thank
they
you.
change it to clinic, that's the difference.
I get it. I just think there's some nuanced portion that we just held up stuff and ran people through a rigmarole that
Right.
was never gonna.
No, I'm just saying
change
that
the
way, that
outcome.
way there, he knows, it's just because it's a clinic.
I get it.
But that can be rewritten.
It can be
But
rewritten.
You'll know what we're talking
Can
about.
be rewritten.
Right. Mr. Hamel?
Good use of a vacant property. Can't wait till you get in there. You're sure you're going to be busy from day one, so obviously in favor.
I'm in favor.
In favor with ample security camera and surveillance for your security guards. Thank you.
And let the board know who the LLC is.
Yes, please, members of the LLC, who the actual members of the LLC are.
I can certainly obtain manager and officers of the LLC. The membership is typically not public record, but I can certainly try to do the best I can to obtain membership in the particular LLC. It might be a little bit challenging, but I can certainly try.
Right, I know. Exactly. Can I have a motion, please?
ZBA 2490, Aspire Health Alliance with its first special permit to operate a medical health clinic utilizing the existing medical office building for the mental health treatment of patients on the premise number 54 Miller Street, Quincy. I make a motion to grant the special permit.
Second.
On the motion? Seeing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? So moved.
you go.
Yeah, I gotta do that right now. I already got it marked.
Thank you so much.
You're all set.
Really appreciate it.
Further under business, I'd like to make a motion, if you could, please.
Mr. Chairman, I make a motion to accept and waive the reading of the minutes for the regularly scheduled meeting of January 14th, 2025.
Second.
On the motion, seeing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? So moved. Motion adjourned? All in
Motion to
favor?
adjourn. Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Aye.